Alright guys, in the last video we made it so that we could fetch data from GitHub. We created a little GitHub class that will do that for us using promises and async and await, and then we're returning that data in the profile. So now what we want to do is we want to render the profile in the DOM in the UI when it's fetched. So that will happen right here with show profile. So what we'll do is go to the UI.js and we're going to create a UI class. All right, so we'll say class UI and we'll create a constructor, and it's just going to have a property called profile. So this dot profile, we're going to set it to document dot get element by ID profile. So basically that's talking about this right here in our index.html. That's going to be the placeholder for the profile. And then let's create a method called show profile. Okay, and that's going to take in a user. Now if we go back to app.js, we want to initialize or instantiate the UI class. So let's call this UI, and we'll set it to new. Call the constructor new UI, like that. And then down here where we say show profile, we want to do UI dot show profile. Now remember, that takes in a user, and we can get that from data dot profile. Okay, because that's what we're getting back from this GitHub get user. So we're going to pass in here data dot profile. So let's save that. UI is not defined. Let's see, UI is not defined. We have const equals new UI. Did I save this file? No, I didn't. Okay, so save that, and now that error's gone. So let's just see what we get if we go ahead and say console.log right here for user. If I go and I type in a B, and you can see we get all that user's info. So we want to take this user data and we want to basically build a template from it using a template string or a template literal, and then insert it into this dot profile, which is that profile ID. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. So we'll say this dot profile dot inner HTML equals a template string, and then we're going to have a whole mess of markup here. Now I know some people like when I copy and paste HTML because they don't want to, you know, watch me type a whole mess of HTML, but some people don't. It makes them feel like we're kind of skipping around and stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and type it out. If you want, you can just kind of fast forward the video, but I am going to type this out and kind of explain the layout a little bit, even though this isn't a Bootstrap course or anything. And speaking of that, I do have a Bootstrap 4 course. So we're going to create a div with the class of card and card body. That'll give us a border and some padding and some drop shadows, things like that. I'm also going to do MB3, which will give it margin bottom, get a little margin on the bottom. And then we're going to use the grid system, so we need a row class. And inside here we'll have 2 columns. This first one will be a 3-column div, so call MD3. That's where the image or the avatar is going to go. And then under that, I'll just copy this. We're going to have a 9-column div. That's where everything else is going to go. So let's start in the 3-column. We're going to have an image. It's going to have a class of img fluid, which will make it 100% of its container. We're also going to give it a little margin bottom because there's going to be a link underneath it or a button underneath it. And then the source is going to be dynamic. This comes from the API. So if we look at this link here, which is the link that we're fetching, you can see that there's where is it? Right here, avatar URL, and that points to the image file. So that's what we want to put right here. So we're going to use our variable expression, and we're going to say user dot avatar underscore URL. So we have access to all of this data for whatever user is being looked at. So that'll get us the image. Now underneath it, we're going to have an A tag, and it's going to go to this right here, which is the GitHub profile. So it's HTML URL. So in here, we want to put a variable of user.html underscore URL. And we're going to make this target equals underscore blank, so it opens on a new tab. And then we also want to add some bootstrap classes. So btn primary, and let's do btn block, which will make it a block level element. And we'll just say view profile. All right, so that's the 3 column. Now the 9 column will have all of the rest of the info. So I'm going to put span class, and we're going to use badges here, which are just like little background colors. So let's say badge, and then the color we'll say badge dash primary. And then what we're going to put here is the number of public repos the user has. So let's say public repos as a label. And then we'll say user user dot public underscore repos. Okay, and then we're going to have some other stuff here as well. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy this a couple times, 4 times. This one here, I'm going to change the color to secondary. And then this is going to be the public gists. So we'll change this gists, and then this one will say badge dash success, and then this one's going to be the followers, which will be user dot followers, and you can see all the data over here, followers, and we'll do following, which will be badge dash info, and we'll say following, and then user dot following. Okay, and then underneath this last span, we're just going to put a couple line breaks, and we're going to have a UL with the class of list group. Okay, all bootstrap classes. And in here, we'll have a couple list items. So these LIs, you want to give a class of list group item, unless you want them to look absolutely horrible. And then in here we'll have the company. So we'll say user.company, and then let's just copy this line. Let's say 3 more times, and then under the company we're going to have the website / blog, and you can see there's a blog right here, and it's actually pointed to my website. So this will be user.blog. And then under that, we're going to do the location, which we can get with user.location. And then we also want the created at, which I'm going to call member since. So how long they've been registered at GitHub. So created underscore at. And yeah, that should be it. Now at the very bottom here, I'm going to put an H3 with the class of page heading, and also MB-3, which is a margin bottom. And then this is where the public repos are going to go. So we're going to say latest repos, and then just a placeholder for that. So that'll be a div with the ID of repos. All right, so hopefully this wasn't too much torture to watch me type this out, but this is going to be the profile, or the profile display. So let's save this, and now let's go back to app.js. Okay, we've already initialized it, we're already calling it down here, so let's see what happens. Make sure everything's saved, and we'll put in a B here, and there we go. And it's actually, well, it's kind of responsive. I guess we could put some margin bottom under this this button right here, so let's do that. So that's this link, and we'll say MB4 and save. There we go. So that looks better. And if we make this bigger, of course, it's going to stretch out the columns. So that looks pretty good. If I go ahead and type BR, it'll fetch that profile. I can keep typing. Now, every time it hits a user that doesn't exist, it's going to send this 404 not found. And what we want to happen in the UI when that happens is we want to show an alert that says that user isn't found, and then just keep whatever the current profile is on the page. All right, so that's what we're going to do next, guys. We're going to take care of the alert, which will be part of the UI class. All right, so I will see you in the next video.